This young lady hails from the Fresno area. Her and her husband, we know them as the gas station slash liquor store flippers. The co-founder, that's how the co-founders know them anyway. And we're just so proud to have her on our team. She's out there blowing and going. Also, she has a lot of basic information to help everybody explode their business. She got started in Fresno, California with 2 home-based businesses and actually 2 degrees, excuse me. And her husband and her come from a long line of entrepreneurs, open up a business, exercise and things of that nature, and decided, wait, this is much better. There's no overhead, there's no FICA, there's all that good stuff to go with it. Got in the business and starting setting definitely some milestones in our organization. And not only that, we're very proud of her because what she's done. And we're going to hear from her a lot more in the future. And without further ado, regional director for the Fresno area, the great, the one and only 3.0. Let's give it up for Miss Natasha Ismail.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for that wonderful introduction. And I do, you know what, Julian? No, okay, you know I love him. Okay, I love him. But thank you so much for that amazing introduction. And good morning, everyone. Today's the last day that I'm with you for this month. And I've covered a lot of topics this whole month. Because, my whole goal on Mondays is to give everybody that mindset to get through the week. Because you're going to face some things during the week. And the whole goal is when you hear something on Monday, just something that resonates with you, you go back and you listen to it. And having Mr. Thomas do 3 days in a row of what to say and how to say it, and as busy as he is and as much as he does, just giving all the time. And I just want to take a second and thank you for all of that, Mr. Thomas. So if we can we please give Mr. Thomas a round of applause for being so amazing and being our amazing, amazing leader. So today I'm going to cover the definition of an entrepreneur. Because that's all of us today. We're all entrepreneurs on this call. If you are on this call, if you're listening to this call, you're an entrepreneur. Yes, Ariel, you are an entrepreneur. Okay, Mary Perez, entrepreneur. Luisa, an entrepreneur. Sharion, with your fabulous glasses, you're an entrepreneur. Okay, so I want to cover the definition of an entrepreneur. Now, we know that greatness isn't doing big things really, really well. Greatness is doing the little things very, very well. So over the past weekend, when I was listening to the call and I was hearing, Mr. Thomas was speaking and a couple of people asked questions and they were talking about, well, how many names and numbers did you get? How many people did you talk to and stuff like that? And I want everyone to think about something. So today's just going to be more like me, just kind of like, we're just chopping it up. Okay. So if you guys want to type in the chat, do all that stuff, go for it. So I was thinking about something and there's a lot of people that get into these types of businesses or that get into this business and they go out one day and they'll talk to like 10 or 20 people. But then the next day they don't talk to anybody. And then the day after that, they don't talk to anybody. And then the day after that, they talk to one person. And then the day after that, they say, well, why am I not getting the results that you said I was going to get? How many of us have ever had somebody like that? I talk to everybody. And it's like, you only know 10 people. Where do you live? Right? Because you can't only know 10 people. Right? So it's not about going out one day and just blowing it up and then not doing anything on the other days. The whole point and the whole way to be successful is to master the mundane and to do the small things with consistency and do them well. And we know that Mr. Lewis has talked about discipline multiple times. It's having that discipline and being able to go get one name and number outside or online or whatever, talk to one person every single day consistently. Because people are like, well, how many should I talk to? Oh, I'm going to talk to 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. And it's like, okay, but you can't just do that one day out of the week and then expect big results. You have to be consistent with it. So one of my mentors said, look, if you want to do the big numbers, that's fine. But if you can't do the small numbers consistently, how do you think you're going to do the big numbers consistently? And I said, that's right. So you have to be willing to do the small things very, very well in order to achieve greatness. Okay. So now the first letter I'm going to give you is C. So everybody write down C if you're taking notes. C, 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 C. Consistent. That's the first C, is consistent. Mr. Thomas gave an analogy a long time ago and it always stuck with me. He said, how do you, if there's water dripping from the ceiling, how does it create a rivet or how does it create a little hole in the cement? How does it do that? If you just dump a bucket of water on it, is it going to create a divot? No. So how do you create that? It's that consistent drop of water every single minute. It's just dripping and dripping, just like Sam. Sam got it. It's that consistent drop of water. So you can't expect to get a lot of names and numbers, which is the bucket, and just dump the bucket over and expect there to be a hole in the cement, because it doesn't work that way. But if you have a drop every single day, my grandma used to say that, well, it's like, it sounds different in our language, but basically drop by drop is how the ocean is formed. So it's drop by drop how your business is formed. It's person by person. It's number by number. It's not just taking a bucket and just dumping it all out there. You have to be consistent. So when Mr. Thomas gave that analogy that it's a drop of water being consistent, that stuck with me. So hopefully you guys get the visual for that, okay? Now, the second one, the second letter is R. Now the R stands for relentless, especially in rejection when it comes to us, okay? So you have to be relentless, especially when it comes to rejection. Now I want everybody to think about something. Who created Amazon? Everybody knows Amazon, okay? Now imagine if Jeff Bezos would not have been relentless, especially when people rejected his idea. And he was going to call it Amazon. Today, it's just like, it feels like a common word, but just think about somebody coming up to you being like, hey, so I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to sell products and stuff. I'm going to sell books and we're going to call it Amazon. And people probably looked at him like, you're crazy, because that's what happened, right? But if he wasn't relentless, would we have Amazon today? No. Think about Elon Musk. His friends literally took the time out of their day to compile videos of spaceships blowing up in order for him not to go do it. Now, if one of your friends did that and they found all the negative things about business or entrepreneurship or anything, and they put together a video and they made you sit there and watch it, how many of us would still be here? Think about that. Like, really, for a second, think about that. Because if somebody did that to me, I'd probably be like, ugh, I never knew about that. But I mean, I'm still going to do it anyway because I'm an entrepreneur. But people that have been successful, oh, here's another good one. Okay, Ray Kroc, McDonald's. Think about the fact for a second. If the McDonald's brothers would have only stayed with that one location in California and never would have given Ray Kroc McDonald's. Can you think about that? But how relentless was he? Because he knew what he wanted. He went after what he wanted. He had a vision. He had a dream. He knew what he could turn McDonald's into, and he turned McDonald's into the empire that it is today. But if he was never relentless, especially through rejection, if he would have stopped the first time that the brothers said no to him, we would not have McDonald's. Can you guys imagine the world without McDonald's? Because I can't. I still love their McChickens, okay? But we would not have a world that had McDonald's in it. So all of these big names that we know, think about Steve Jobs. We heard Mr. Williams tell the story. He literally got fired, And then he came back and he created Apple into like this big, monstrous company that's just taken over the world, okay? And people are just like, here, the new iPhone comes out, they're like, just take my money. Just take my money. I don't even want it. Just take my money. Imagine if Steve Jobs would have never gone for it, if he wasn't relentless through the rejection that he faced. It's all about mindset. How important is mindset, especially in this business? You have to be tough. You have to have skin like a rhino. You have to be willing to go through anything and everything in order to get to where you want to get to, in order to do what you want to do for your family, in order to create that lifestyle that you see for them. A lot of people just don't get what they want in life because they don't know what they want in life. If I were to ask you right now, what do you want out of life? And I'm telling you this because somebody asked me this one time and I didn't have an answer because I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted my life to look like. So if I were to ask you right now, what do you want? What do you want out of life? How many of you actually have a response for me? We're a little advanced though, because we work on this stuff. But if I were to just ask anybody, what do you want out of life? They don't even know. There's people that'll start working at a grocery store when they're 18 just to pay for college. And you go back there, they're like 57 and they're still working there. Oh, I'll get to it someday. I'll do that someday. I'll buy a car someday. I'll buy a house someday. I'll have a real estate property someday. Oh, I'll go to Hawaii someday. There's a lady, there's a grocery store I go to, and this poor woman, like, she's always working. And she started just as like a cashier, worked her way up to being a manager. She loves it, but she hates it because she literally feels like she owns it. That could be a good thing and a bad thing, but she feels like she owns it. So she walks around like she's the owner, but she doesn't get paid like she's the owner. Does that make sense? She has all the responsibilities that the owner doesn't have because she's trying to run the store. She does all the daily activities. She does all the little stuff, but she had one day off. Okay. I remember I was there and she was like, oh, I'm off tomorrow. I'm leaving early today. And I was like, well, you should probably smile then. Cause it doesn't look like you're leaving. It looks like you're still staying here. She started laughing and she's like, I haven't had a day off in weeks. In weeks. People will sacrifice a trip with their family in order to work for minimum wage for a whole day. They'll sacrifice going to a funeral because they'll work a day for minimum wage. They'll sacrifice doing what they want, spending time with who they want to go after money because they're trading time for money. When you're at a job, and I'm not knocking it because you got to do what you got to do. I worked so many jobs throughout my whole life. I worked 3 jobs during semesters in college, and it was wild. I don't even know how I did it. But you have to be willing to do something different in order to get something different. You can't just keep doing the same thing because one day you're going to look up and you're going to be at the same job for over 20 plus years. They're going to give you a plaque and they're going to tell you, hey, by the way, we need you to train 2 new people. When you turn 40, what do they say? They trade you in for 2 20s. Some people are shaking their head, yes, because you know what I'm talking about. You have to have a strong mindset. You have to be relentless and you have to be willing to go after what you want. Because if you don't go after what you want, you're never going to get it and nobody else is going to come do it for you. Number 3, E. The E stands for energy and enthusiasm. Okay, let me raise my voice a little bit. Energy, and Ariel laughing. Energy and enthusiasm, okay? So the E stands for energy and enthusiasm. Now, entrepreneurs have like this different spark and energy about them. How many of you guys agree? Like, I love the people on this call because everybody has a different energy and a different enthusiasm than anybody else out there, right? This is like kind of messed up, but it's really, really funny and true. But when you go somewhere, when you go to like a grocery store, a restaurant or whatever, and your waiter or the cashier is super, super excited, can you guys tell that they're new? You totally can tell that they're new, okay? Because I experienced this like multiple times, but again, at the same grocery store, there was this guy and he was just like, hi, ma'am, can I help you? Do you need anything? If you need anything, just let me know. If you're looking for anything, I can help you find anything. Just let me know. Just let me know. Just let me know. And I looked at him and I was like, so how long have you worked here? And he's like, oh, it's my first week here. And I was like, I can tell. Like I just said, because it was like, we were just talking, right? I was like, I can tell. And he started laughing. And I'm like, because you can tell when somebody's new, they have that energy and that drive, but pretty soon they get burnt out. But entrepreneurs, no, you know, like those candles on a birthday cake. How many of you guys have gotten pranked with those candles? Because I think we did that to Mr. Thomas one time. But we put those candles on the cake, and no matter how hard you try to blow them out, those things don't go out. They just have that no quit. They're just like, and you're like, what in the, like, what are these candles? What am I trying to blow out? And they just don't blow out. That's how entrepreneurs are. You're that candle. You have that spark that just won't go out. No matter how much people tell you you're crazy, no matter how much people say, why are you doing this? You shouldn't do this. It's because you see something that they don't see. And you can't expect others to see the vision that only God gave you. You're that spark that keeps going. They might not be, but you can't let somebody else being a regular candle stop you from being a sparkly candle. You are a sparkly candle that doesn't go out, okay? And you stay that way. So you have to have that energy and enthusiasm to keep going. When Aaron Burt was on the call on Thursday, he said something so key. What did he say about people that like fizzle out or whatever? What did he say the biggest thing was? You gotta stay excited about what you have. Entrepreneurs, stay excited. They stay excited for the little discoveries that they're going to find. They stay excited for when somebody says no, it means next opportunity. When somebody says this isn't going to work, you keep those text messages like I do, and you just look at them every time you feel down, and then that re-sparks you again. You just have that energy and enthusiasm. You have to stay excited about what you're doing. Okay, next letter, A. Now, A stands for association. As an entrepreneur, who are you associated with? Who do you talk to? If you've listened to Jim Rohn like at all, you know that he says if you talk to 5 broke people, who's going to be the 6th one? You. If you hang out with 5 rich people, who's going to be the 6th one? You, right? We've heard that from Jim Rohn. Think about it. And it's so true because thoughts become things. But what are you thinking about? What is it that forms your thoughts in the first place? What books are you reading? What music do you listen to? I used to be the person that had music like blasting out of my car. And if I didn't have the music, I couldn't drive. Mr. Thomas is laughing. If I didn't have the music, I couldn't drive. So is Jamar, don't laugh. And after joining this business, what happened? My car turned into a university on wheels. I literally have like John Maxwell CDs in there still and like George Zalicki and stuff. But then I have my playlist on YouTube and Spotify, and that's all I listen to because I love feeding my mind that. I love growing. I love discovering things about myself. I love finding out what my, let's see. I was going to say limits, but none of us have any limits. Sky's the limit. But just figuring things out about yourself. How cool does it feel when you have a light bulb moment? When you just have an epiphany about something? When somebody that you're associated with, like a mentor, they say something to you and you just look at them and you freeze for a second and then they have to, hey, wake up. But it's because you just had a light bulb moment. What are you associating yourself with? Because that's what you're going to become. If you constantly watch the news, let me tell you, you ain't going to be a positive person. Okay? So take care of your associations. Now, next, the T. The T. You got to be tough. You really, really have to be tough, especially in business, especially in this business. You got to be tough. What animal did I tell you you got to be like? You got to be like the rhino. You got to be like the elephant. Your skin has to be so thick that when a drop of water falls on it, it just rolls off. Think about a duck. It has like basically waterproof skin, which is like crazy. Its feathers are kind of like waterproof. So think about a duck. When there's water on a duck's back, what does Mr. Thomas say? It has to roll off like water on a duck's back. Because think about a duck. When have you ever seen water on a duck's back? Because it rolls off. You haven't seen it. That's how you have to be. We've heard Mrs. Driscoll and we've told the story before about the mule. So an old man and a mule were walking one day, and the mule suddenly fell down a hole. And the old man's just sitting there like, oh my God, my mule fell down the hole. How am I supposed to get him out? We got to go. I got an appointment. I got to show somebody the plan, right? He's like, we're walking and it just fell in the hole. So the mule's like crying and he's screaming. And, you know, people start to gather around and they're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And the guy says, my mule fell down the hole. Like, I can't get him out. So what do you think the people said? The people started saying, just leave him down there. The hole's too deep. There's no way that we can get him out there. And the mule is like kicking and screaming for his life. Like, how can you guys do that to me? I'm right here. I'm alive. I'm kicking and screaming. I know you guys hear me. I know you hear me. I'm right here. And the people said, you know what? We should probably just bury him. Can you just imagine? He's alive. He's kicking and screaming. And the people said, let's just bury him. So they all started getting dirt and they all started throwing dirt on the mule. And the mule was like crying and screaming and kicking and screaming like, I'm alive, guys. Like, I'm right here. They put more dirt on him, more dirt on him. And then you know what the mule started doing? He started shaking it off. The mule just started shaking it off. Mr. Thomas, I got the hair, so I don't want to mess up my hair. He started shaking it off. They put more dirt on him. He shook it off. And you know what he did? He stepped on the dirt and it brought him higher. They put more dirt on him. He shook it off and then he stepped on it again and he got higher and higher and higher until he came out of the hole. You have to be tough. When a seed gets buried, it thinks that it's buried, but in reality, it's just being planted. It's about to grow. When the seed is being broken open, it feels like it's being broken and it's done for, and that's the end, but that's exactly when it sprouts. So you're going to feel as an entrepreneur that you're being put dirt on. You're going to feel like you're in a hole and nobody hears you, even when you're kicking and screaming and you're alive. Nobody hears you, but guess what? You're still alive. You got to use that dirt that people are throwing at you and step on it. Step on it. Get out of the hole that you're in because nobody else is going to come do it for you. People will just leave you there. But when your associations are right, like they are here, you have people that are going to help you get out of that hole. And I got the chills. So Mr. Driscoll, I don't know if you're sending me vibes or if that's somebody else, but that was for somebody and somebody needed to hear it. So there's that. You got to be tough. Okay. Now, the last letter is E. The E stands for empower and encourage. As an entrepreneur, we empower and we encourage people. We empower them to do what they want to do in life. We encourage them that anything they want to do is possible. Do you know how crazy it is that when people join this business, the biggest thing that holds them back is just the belief in themselves? I was one of those people. And I'm sure a lot of you on this call were. You didn't really believe in yourself. You didn't really know how much belief it took in order to build a business. But what happened? You had mentors that were empowering you and that were encouraging you that have gone through it. Like Mr. Thomas says, the mentor is someone that's gone through the landmines. And what do? You follow their footsteps and go in the same direction. Or you might just step on something and blow up. And we don't want that to happen. Okay. But you get empowered, you get encouraged. And that's how you want to be for other people. You have to be that lighthouse for people that have the little sailboats that can't really see the lighthouse because of the fog, but you have to shine so bright that they can find you, that they can see you. There's people that literally, like on my Instagram and stuff, they watch my stories every day because they know every single post is something motivational. Every single post is something encouraging. I do not post negativity. Something's going on in the news, I'm not posting it. Why? What's the point? All it's going to stir up is emotions and all that stuff. You got to be positive because when you're positive, you stand out. You're like that lighthouse. So all the little sailboats, what's going to happen? They're going to all start coming to you. So you have to empower and encourage others. I heard something. I was listening to Gary Vee, and he talked about there's 2 ways to have the tallest building. Now, if you guys know, put it in the chat. But there's 2 ways to have the tallest building. The first way is to build the tallest building. And the second way is to tear other buildings down. which way would you rather have? You'd rather focus on your building and try to be the best that you can be versus trying to tear other people down. What do they say? Hurt people hurt people. Same concept. People that are hurting, they go after. Why do they have all these keyboard warriors and stuff on social media, especially on TikTok? They're like 9-year-olds on there, super, super mean. But why Sharian got that? But why do they do that? Because they're hurt themselves. When you think about that, if somebody ever says no or like gets mad at you or yells at you for showing them this, it's not you. It's because that they're hurt. They're going through something. They have something internally that they have to deal with. Instead of tearing people down, you need to be building people up. You need to work so hard on your building that nobody else's building even matters. You got to focus for what you want. If I were to ask you right now, what do you even want? What are you working towards? Besides writing down our why on our like launch document when we first get started, what do you really, really want? What's your ideal day look like? What does your ideal morning routine look like? If you could go anywhere on a trip with your family, where would you go? What would you do? What do you want out of your life? Because if you don't know what you want, how are you supposed to go after something that you don't even know what you're going after? Because one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, oh, well, it's too late. That's what everyone's excuse is. But in reality, you need to have a plan. You need to know exactly what you want out of life. And if you don't know, the best thing is that you can create it. You get to create your future. You get to create what you want your life to look like. And this line, it keeps coming to me, so I'm going to say it. We've heard Mr. Williams say this too. You guys ready? Mr. Thomas is laughing. He knows it's going to be a good one. To think is to create. Now, I want everybody to look at their notes. Look at the word that we spelled out. What word is it? Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. I know y'all see it. Type it in the chat. I want somebody to say it before I say it. Because, you know, mystery. Create. Dave Culver, professor. I could always count on Dave. So, create. I told you we're going to talk about the definition of an entrepreneur today. And what's the word that we spelled out? Create. Because you have the power to create anything that you want to. You have the power to visualize anything that you want to. You literally have the power to do anything that you want to. To think is to create. Everything that is created was once in somebody's imagination. Everything. Look around you. There's a show, Shark Tank. I'm going to end with this. So I love watching Shark Tank. And I know Mr. Thomas loves this show too. Okay. I love watching Shark Tank. And on this show one day, there was a couple that walked in and they had a bunch of like sunflower looking things on their board, right? And then 5 of their daughters walked in. They had 5 daughters, okay? They all had long, beautiful blonde hair and all of that stuff. And, you know, so the guys go, okay, so what did you guys create? And they look at them and say, well, we were having an issue. Our shower drains kept getting clogged. And they said, okay, so what's your point? So what they said was, if you look, so the husband started talking. He goes, if you look, I live with 6 beautiful women. Now, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing because our showers get clogged up all the time. So what was happening was every time they take a shower, the hair was clogging up in the drain, okay? So they said that one day the drain was so clogged, the water wasn't going down. So what the mom did, she took apart the top of it and she used a hanger or something because, you know, we all use a hanger, right? When you don't have that fancy snake thing. So she pulled it out and it was a bunch of hair, just like caught up together. And they said, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if there was something that would hold on to the hair, but it'd be super easy to remove? So what they invented, what they created was this sunflower, okay? It's a really cute sunflower. And it was just, you know, like those old dog tags that people used to wear in high school, the little beaded necklaces. Okay, so that, okay, with like 5 little plastic hooks on it. And that was it. That was it. They went on to become multi-millionaires. Their creation is in like all these different stores, all the big name stores, all the big chain stores, and all of that stuff. Why am I telling you that story? Because they thought about something and then they created it. What once was in their imagination came into fruition. We know that Albert Einstein said imagination is the preview to life's coming attractions. But if you don't have anything in your imagination, what is going to come into your life? Nothing. It's going to be the same routine that you're in now. And you're going to look up and you're going to say, when did I turn 50? Then you're going to look up again. When did I turn 60? Then you're going to look up again. When did I turn 70? Where did the time go? As an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to think. And one of my mentors said, we're never taught how to think. In school, they always told you what to think, but never how to think. So as an entrepreneur, you start your journey of thinking for yourself, and it's not easy. It takes courage being an entrepreneur, but you have to have the courage to think and to create the life that you desire because you can. So with that, Mr. Thomas, thank you so much, and I'm going to pass it back to you.